What's up guys, thank you for tuning in. Today we're going to be working on my buddy Michael's GS750. I believe it's a 1977. He gave this bike to me a couple of weeks ago and asked me to get it running. And whilst you can probably tell, there's a lot of things that we have to do. So the first thing that we're going to do right now is work on the brakes. Hopefully get that fixed. I feel like that's the most important part. After that, hopefully get the clutch to and stick. When all that's done and the electrical's done, we'll try and start it up. And hopefully after that we are able to ride it. So let's get right to it and let's see where this absolute box takes us. Alright, so that's the first problem solved. You can definitely tell that these are brakes made in the 70s. But they work, and they work actually pretty good. Bleeding wasn't that hard. So yeah, both front and rear brakes work, so that's good. So the next issue that we've got to solve is the stick and clutch. So right now it's in neutral, I can show you. It's moving back and forth, but if I put it in gear, so I fully disengage the clutch, put it in gear, as you can see, it doesn't want to move. So yeah, that's something that we gotta fix. So I actually bought something for that, and that's a new clutch actuator. Alright, so what you're looking at right now is the clutch actuator that's on the motorcycle currently. And if you own a GS750, you've probably noticed that this isn't the way that it's supposed to look. You can see there's a big bolt right here that isn't supposed to be there, and a couple of washers behind it. That gives me the idea that probably somebody else tried to fix the sticking clutch problem and wasn't able to, obviously. So what I did is I bought a new one. This is the way it's supposed to look. So there's as you can see in the center, there's a bolt with the slot in it that you can screw it either in or out. So hopefully by replacing the old one with this new one, we can fix our sticking clutch problem. If not, we'll figure out something else. So first, when you look at them, there isn't that big of a difference. I mean, these are definitely the same units. This one, which is the new one, does feel a bit sturdier, because when I hold this one and I push it, I don't know whether you can see it, it tends to move a lot. This one doesn't have that, not as much. Also with the, with the thickness, this is the old one. The bolt and all the washers on it. So this one with the bolt and multiple washers on it, it's way thicker, so I'm feeling like it just doesn't actually actuate the clutch enough or disengage it. So we're gonna put this one on, the new one, maybe do a little bit of adjusting with this bolt, and hopefully after that we have a functioning clutch. So let's put it on and see where that takes us. Right, so the new clutch actuator is on. I mounted the cable back as well. Now when I put it in gear, as you can see, the rear wheel still doesn't want to move. So now it's time for some adjustments on the actuator. I'm going to try and put it a little bit more in, and hopefully that pushes the clutch more out and therefore have it fully disengage. But that's only one way to find out. So let's make these adjustments and hopefully after that have a functioning clutch. Now, to be honest with you, I've never had to deal with this problem before. So this is me learning as well. I'm gonna see if we can put this in a little bit. I'm gonna need an extension. Alright, what's that? That 1.5, 2 turns. So I'm going to tighten this down, and after that try again. Alright, let's try this again. Clutch lever feels a lot sturdier, so hopefully that's a good thing. Definitely requires a bit more power to disengage it. So let's put it in gear. Still nothing. That's too bad. Alright, maybe we can adjust it even more. So I'm going to try that. I don't know. Alright, so I've got the actuator on and adjusted accordingly, so it does work. The clutch doesn't stick anymore. As you can see, it's in gear right now. I can't push or pull it, fully disengage it, and now I can, as you can see. So that's good. What happened was the adjustment bolt snapped in two, so I wasn't able to adjust it. So what I eventually did was the same thing as probably the previous owner did, that was find another bolt, put that in, and then adjust it with washers. That took way longer than I'm proud to admit, but I got it done. So I'm actually really happy with that, because now we have brakes, a clutch that disengages so it doesn't stick anymore. So there's only a couple things left to do, which is wire up a speedometer. That should be pretty easy, and getting it running, that's gonna be a different story. Once we did that, we have to fabricate some sort of exhaust. Once that's done, just mount the license plate and we should be ready to ride. Alright, so it's been a couple of days. As you can see in the last part, I welded up the exhaust. To be honest, that was a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be, because all the pieces of pipe that I used had a different thickness. So the muffler's 1 millimeter, the flange that I used, I don't know what to call it, but the part in between that was 1/2 mil. And the 4-in-1 collector that was 2 millimeters thick. So yeah, that was quite hard to get a nice weld. But we did it, and it's on the bike, and to be honest, I think it looks pretty damn good. Of course, it still needs some paint and stuff like that, but that's for another time. I already put a muffler in as well, because I do remember this bike being very, very loud, and loud pipes are fun, but when they're that loud that you can't relax while riding anymore, that personally that's just too loud for me. So we got a baffle in there. Electronics and all the wiring and stuff like that's done. I've put the battery on a charger to make sure that it has a full charge. So what we got to do right now is make a bracket to hold the license plate. After that, hopefully we can get this bike to run and even take it for a little spin. So let's get right to it and make a license plate holder. Alright, so this absolute monstrosity came from another bike that I bought a couple of years ago. The guy, I bought an XS650, but I guess he wanted to have a Harley, so there's a Harley, part of a Harley sissy bike on here, luggage rack and stuff like that. And I actually want to use this part to make a license plate holder. I thought, why not make it out of scraps? I have them laying around. What I at first wanted to do is that the license plate would wrap around the back of the rear wheel. Michael doesn't want that. He wants the tire to be fully visible, which I can imagine, seeing how crazy those knobbies are. So what we're going to do is make a license plate holder that's just floating besides the rear wheel. So we're basically just going to chop it right here and right here, take all this other stuff off. Hopefully we can just bolt it on to the shock or somewhere like that and have a license plate holder. So let's cut this thing up and see whether we can use it or not. Alright, so I have no idea whether this is actually going to work or not. I have seen people do it before, but at the same time it's mounted to the shock and that's supposed to move. So I'm not really sure. It's just to experiment because it's the easiest way to mount it. So we're just going to give it a try. Alright. So the idea is that, of course, this hole right here, mount up to here, like that. Okay, the bolt doesn't fit through here, so we're going to make this hole a little bigger. So give me a couple of seconds. Alright, so unfortunately the camera died, and I didn't notice until I was finished, of course. But I decided that I'm not going to make any pretty cuts and stuff like that, because I don't know whether Michael's actually going to like it or not. So for now I've just put the plate on, so we can hopefully within a couple of minutes can take our first test ride. So this is the result for now. It feels pretty sturdy. So let's put the bike back together and start kicking it a million times, and hopefully it'll run. Alright, as you can see, the bike's back together. I'm pretty sure it has spark, and I used a water bottle to put some gas in that thing. So we're going to kick it over. The starter in it doesn't work, so I have a feeling that after today I'm gonna be sore. Let's just give it a go. Let's see what happens. Right, so I kicked it over a couple of times. Feels like I did it a million times already. Doesn't give me any sounds that it wants to start or anything like that. So I'm going to use some cheating fluid. It's just brake cleaner. Put some in the carbs. Hopefully that'll do something, and it'll be that push that it needs to actually start. So let's get these pot filters off and hopefully put some brake cleaner in it. Alright, skip the filters for now. Let's just give it another go. That sounded good. Come on. Ooh. Ooh. Hey. Right. So as you can see, it ran pretty well. Was even able to give it some throttle, and it responded pretty good to that. So that's definitely enough motivation for me to try and give this a little test run, just up and down the block. Hopefully I'll be able to return and tell you how it went. So let me put these filters on and I'll take it for a quick spin. Right, so as you can tell, that test ride went pretty dang good. I'm not going to say that it was tuned 100% perfectly, but it was definitely tuned enough to take it for a ride. So much so that I actually took it over to Michael's place. That was the guy that you saw on the motorcycle, and he was very enthusiastic, which in turn, of course, makes me very happy. I also want to give Michael a quick shout out for giving me the opportunity and trusting me on working on his motorcycle. So thank you very much for that, man. I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, that's the end of this video. We got definitely a lot of other motorcycles coming in the near future, so subscribe if you're interested in that. Also, Michael's bike is a Suzuki from the 70s, so it's bound to break down at some point, and hopefully it'll make a return on the channel. For now, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a very good day. Thank you.